Listen, I love a good bubble bath, but if a 20-minute soak was the answer to everything, we'd all be thriving, right? Welcome to Your Well Life, the podcast that goes way beyond self-care checklists and into the real work of healing, alignment, and actually feeling alive again. I'm Misha Vayner, trauma-informed transformation mentor, holistic health and life coach, and mom of 3, here to inspire you to break free from burnout, reconnect with yourself, and create a life that actually feels like home. And we're not pretending it's all deep and serious 24/7 because real growth, it's sacred, but it's also messy, hilarious, and sometimes best understood through a pop culture analogy. Each week, you'll hear inspiring stories of resilience, soulful conversations about healing, reinvention, optimizing your well-being, and honest insights to help you move from struggle to flow in motherhood, marriage, friendships, career, and beyond. I'm endlessly curious about what makes people tick and thrive, whether it's a breakthrough moment, a hidden grocery cart treasure, or even a Bravo show revelation. Because healing isn't just found in the heavy work, it's woven into the everyday human experience. Real life isn't polished, growth isn't linear, but within the real, raw moments, there's a path forward, and you don't have to walk it alone. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Today's guest is not only a powerhouse in media and motherhood, she's also a dear friend and someone I deeply admire. Kanika Chadda Gupta is a former CNN anchor turned purpose-led podcaster, entrepreneur, and mom of 3, including twins. She's a brilliant voice between That's Total MomSense, a top-ranked parenting podcast where she sat down with change makers like Chelsea Clinton, Kelly Rowland, and America Ferrera to explore the raw truths, hilarious detours, and deeply human moments behind modern parenthood. Her work has been featured in Forbes, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and she's partnered with national organizations such as the March of Dimes and the White House to elevate the real stories of motherhood. But today's conversation is different because we're going to go behind the brand, beyond the accolades, and straight to the heart of what it means to juggle it all without losing yourself. We talk about reclaiming your inner mom sense, navigating burnout, building a powerful legacy while still being present with your little ones, and showing up even when you're sleep deprived, overwhelmed, and wondering if you're doing any of it right. This is an honest, empowering, and soul-soothing conversation for every mom who's ever asked, how do I keep showing up for them without abandoning me? So thank you so much for being here, Kanika. Oh my God. So first of all, let's just get right into it. You have built such an inspiring platform, not just a podcast, but a movement. So for those meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to create That's Total MomSense?
Absolutely. Misha, this is a joy. I am so glad that I virtually get to spend this morning with you, and you're such a wonderful person and soul and friend. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so That's Total Mom Sense was born because even that had its own birth right after my third kid. I had twins and then my younger son, boy-girl twins, and my younger son in 18 months. And so there was really no preparing yourself for that. It was like, I joke with my husband, Sunil, I was like, I took this house from the 2 of us to 5 of us,
Yeah.
like really freaking fast. But I felt, as you mentioned in your beautiful intro, I didn't want to lose sight of me. And I thought, as much as I'm pouring into everyone I love, and I'd always dreamt of having a big family, I want to make sure that I'm fulfilling my dharma and my purpose. It's just so integral to life.
And our
I was,
well-being.
yes, absolutely. So I was in the shower and it was shortly after pumping. So I was like getting all of it out. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to just enter the world of podcasting because I love long format interviews coming from my television career. This gives me flexibility and freedom. I wanted to be able to decide who I interview. There was no news director or producers telling me who I'm interviewing. And I needed to be able to do it during the middle of the day when the babies were sleeping and later on when they were in daycare or school. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to just put myself out there and do it. So it was Mother's Day of 2019 that I made a logo, and I thought That's Total Mom Sense is fun, catchy. There's no nonsense in it, but Mom Sense is essentially our built-in sixth sense, and we really got to lean into it. Of course, dads, aunties, mentors, we all have an intuition in us that we have to listen to. But something in me shifted after kids that it's like I knew what was good for me, and I was also aware, like hyper aware of what was good for them too. So I was like, this is just
Yes.
a cool superpower. That's what MomSense is. And then I called it that, and then I put out my first few episodes, and it's been 6 years since.
Wow. I just want to first, for a second, go back to the actual term mom sense. I couldn't agree more that it is like such an insanely, it's such an incredible superpower that we all have as individuals. And it's so easy to forget that by tapping into that, we actually have all the guidance, all the everything we need. But like we've been so conditioned and trained to listen to this expert and all this information from everyone else. And it really takes us out of our power and our truth. And I was talking to a mom yesterday when I was actually decorating bulletin boards for for the diversity, equity, inclusion at the school. And while we were doing that, we were talking about just how she has this one child like that's still sleeping in her bed with her, whatever it was. We were talking about her like little while she was tired. And I was like, we were talked about how, and she's also a mom of three. And we talked about how it's all so individual because one of her child has special needs. And I was like, it's so funny how it's so easy for someone who only knows parts of the story or only might hear one element of like your kid sleeping with you while they're whatever, and be so quick to judge or so quick to think that they know what's best for you or your kid. But at the end of the day, each family, each mom, each kid is so unique, so different. And the mom is the only one who knows what's best for their kid. And it's like, and so it is just such a nuanced thing that like can be overwhelming if we're constantly feeling like, but they're doing it this way and Dr. Spock is telling me to do it this way and Dr. Becky's doing it this way. But they don't know the intricacies of your child, your dynamics, if you have help, if you don't, if you whatever. And so I think it's so awesome that you rooted into that concept, because I think it's something that really brings everyone back to their power and is a reminder that while, yeah, I'm going to be having all of these conversations with all of these people to help you have insights and more education and awareness around various tools, resources, stories, whatever. At the end of the day, this is really about you filtering through all of this and tapping into what does that mean for you. So I just 100%. Really love that.
Thank you.
So okay. So how would you describe like what MomSense is in your own words? And talk to me about, you had a couple of stories of when you actually tapped into your MomSense, and like I would love for you to elaborate on those.
Thank you, Misha. Yes. So I feel like my MomSense actually, I discovered it well before becoming a mom, and it was within the process. I wanted two things in life when I was a kid. Number one, to be a television anchor like Oprah, which I ended up doing in my own way. And number two, to be a mom. And when Sunil and I met, and we definitely had our own Bollywood story when we got married, and 4 years goes by, and I was just so ready and just itching, like, when am I gonna have this happen? And so much so that like when we would go to like baby showers, I would just be in the car ride on the way home, like bawling, like, when is it our turn? It was just really hard. And I actually suffered an ectopic pregnancy, and one where I really had to advocate for myself. So I'll just go through like how all of that unfolded. So we're trying, and I actually took Clomid. That's what my OB at the time, when we were living in the city, said to take. She was like, okay, you have unexplained infertility. I can't really explain what the reason is, but if you really want kids, like, this is first line of defense, try this. Cool. Okay. So something just fell off in my body, and I did get the positive pregnancy test. And when I went in for checkups, I definitely tested positive for pregnancy again with my OB. And I had HCG levels. That's the first hormone that they see is rising when you're pregnant. So all of that was like, all right, it's happening. We're having a baby. But something was awry and I just knew it. And it was just a few weeks in, like around 6 weeks in, that I started feeling these really strong, like pains, like shooting pains in my left shoulder. And it was in the middle of the night that I called my friend Juhi Shukla, if you're listening. She was actually doing rotations to become an OB, and now she's a very successful doctor in Pennsylvania. But I called her because she was actually doing her moonlight shift. So it was like midnight, and I just couldn't take it anymore. The pains were really throbbing. And she picked up, and I was like, oh my God, Juhi, I am like in so much pain. And she said, what are your HCG levels? And they were like abnormally low. They needed to be in the hundreds, and it was like 12, 48. Like it was not where it should have been at the 6 week mark. And she enlightened me and said, I'm really sorry to say this, but I'm just telling you what I know. I have a feeling you're having an ectopic pregnancy. And oh my God, what is that? Because you only know of there's chemical pregnancies when they just end early, there's miscarriage. This was like totally new to me. So she broke it down and she said, okay, so it's when the fetus is growing in one of the fallopian tubes, you have a right side and a left side. And when the egg releases, it's supposed to go down the tubes into the uterus and like plant on the lining, and that's the womb. But sometimes it doesn't make it all the way down. And when that happens, it's actually planting in the tube and your fetus is growing there. And what's dangerous about this is that your tube can rupture and it's fatal for the mother.
Wow.
So it's like deadly if you don't detect it in time. And so I was just like, oh my God, okay. Part of me felt shocked, but the other part was so relieved. I was like, thank God I wasn't something was I knew something was up, and now I have the answer. So I marched into the doctor's office the next day for my routine blood work, and I told the RNs I need a sonogram today. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They were just like, oh, sweetie, you're just like 6 weeks along. You don't need a sonogram now. That's like at 12 weeks. You're fine. We just are going to pee on the stick and then do your blood work. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I think I'm having an ectopic. I feel like this is it. So I chased down the doctor, and she had like such bad bedside manner. I'm so glad I found an OB that stuck with me for all three of my deliveries after that. But I said, I demanded, I was like, I want a sonogram today. I will wait in that waiting room all day. Like I need this. And finally she squeezed me in. She did the probe and it was empty. My uterus was empty. Nothing was in it. And she was like, oh, wow. Yeah, you are having an ectopic. I was like, okay. Okay. So sometimes in our healthcare system, you just know what's up. And thankfully, she was like, now you got to go to high res, get a high res ultrasound from this clinic that's like on the Upper East Side. And I was just doing whatever I needed to do. I was on methotrexate, which is a cancer drug, to expel it from the body because, again, it can rupture and I can die. So that's what you have to do. And thankfully, I didn't need surgery because if you detect it too late, then they have to go in and it's just more invasive and they remove a tube. So it was early on and I felt saved and it was fine. But that was another thing when you look back and I came up with this MomSense idea. I trusted the MomSense before I even became a mom, and it saved my life.
Yes, it's incredible how we like when that deep inner knowing comes, it's like even the way you were saying, you're like, no, I'm demanding like XYZ. And you had that like sense of power and that clarity and that conviction and that knowing. And it's amazing how when we are so connected to it, which I feel like is so accelerated when it comes to your point, your health or a child or our children, it's like there's no effing around. We just know. And I love that. And it's interesting how that we still have that in all other parts of our life, but we let it be quieted when it's it's like with motherhood, for some reason, it's, I don't give a, you just do it. But with it's somehow, it's almost like when it comes to our purpose, when it comes to our dreams, it's, I think it goes back to that same, like, I need to put it, that same sort of caretaking motherhood role that women play in general all the time, because we're just like natural caretakers of, oh, I need to, it wouldn't be fair for me to follow this. I should be doing XYZ, or I'm being too selfish or whatever it is. I feel like we quiet that inner voice and knowing, because there's just like this, and we let it be overshadowed by all these other fears and levels of guilt. And so what inspires me even more about you is, in addition to your passion, your like deep connection to your mom sense, it's also that same part of you that was able to follow your purpose and not let it be quieted in that sense, which in this society can be so challenging. So I would love to hear from you as to how, I know so many moms, even that I coach and that people that I'm friends with, that know deep down that there's something more that they were here for, that they have this dream, but it's layered by, I can't do that, or who am I to do that, or I feel bad, or it would take too much money or time, like all of the noise. So talk to me about what gave you that confidence to move forward with that.
Ooh, yes. So I think that we have to definitely be in solitude and create those pockets of time to really, it's like tuning in, like back in the day, a radio station. Because now you just click on a Spotify link. But yeah, tuning
Right.
in
That's
what
so
that
true.
was. I know. But yeah, our millennial friends will get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just, and you're just like, okay, this is a frequency we're vibing. I get what my gut is telling me to do. And there's a few ways to channel it and like tune in. I actually have really vivid dreams. And there's times where, if it's an idea or something that I know I want to build or create, even the podcast, like series that I do, or like a guest or something that just comes to me. A lot of times it's in my dreams. So I keep a journal by my bed and I just notate my dreams in the morning. And I really sit with that. I also believe in vision boarding. I think there's something so subliminal yet tangible about it. And I know you've had vision board parties and you're so about it too. I love
Yeah.
that. So we're like on the same page. But it really did happen for me in many ways. And one that was so profound, back to, the motherhood wish, was after that ectopic, I still had on my vision board, because it was up for 4 years, a little picture from Parents Magazine that was like two baby booties, like hanging on clothespins. One was a pink baby booty, one was a blue one. And it was smack dab in the middle of my vision board. And then there was other goals that I wanted to achieve. But a year after the ectopic, that happened in January of 2017, I gave birth to my twins, and it was one pink, the girl, and one blue, the boy. Like, it's just, I can't even, and people are like, did you do IVF? I didn't do IVF. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah. So I feel like if you really manifest, like, things can happen. So there's that. The vision board is another way. And I'd say one more way would be, as a daily practice, is meditation. So when you really sit with yourself, and whichever meditation resonates with you, you really, again, tune into that inner knowing of, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? I had Diego Perez, Young Pueblo,
Oh,
on yeah, on the show recently, and he's a meditator first and then a poet and content creator. So he is so entrenched in this, and he does the Vipassana tradition that he learned from SN Goenka in India. And Vipassana, I just started doing it because there's really no guide to meditating, but I like this one because it makes you get really uncomfortable. So with transcendental, you often have a mantra that you're reciting. And with others, you can have guided and hear someone's voice guiding you through, like channeling the breath and like your attention to that. Vipassana, you just straight up sit there. You are just you're sitting in the silence, and it could be starting with 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And then he does an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening with his wife, Sarah. So can you just imagine just sitting on your floor for 60 minutes in the dead of silence? That's really, really hard.
Powerful.
Yeah, my mind is always buzzing with to-dos and what's my schedule for tomorrow, and do the kids have a game today, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And then to sit with that. And I also always have music on, and it's whatever I'm feeling. Like one day could be like Kenny Chesney, the other day could be Beyonce, and most of the time it's like old Hindi Gana. So whatever it is, but to sit in the silence, that's very uncomfortable for me. So
Yeah.
I've graduated to 25 minutes, and I'm going to keep practicing it. And I think that's important too, that whatever you're doing as ritual, to tune into this inner knowing, like it's a muscle. So the more you feed it, the more you get better at it. And then you just feel this clarity in your life that you're like, oh, I know what I'm meant to do today, this month, this year, the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah. No, I love that. I feel, first of all, just like you said, regarding the Vipassana and the quiet, when we have so much buzzing about with our to-do lists and our full schedules and all of the stressors and what we're holding emotionally for other people and all of the things that are never ending. But just like we have to take like our daily showers and brush our teeth, we do need to cleanse our minds daily and give our minds that reset, that reboot, because it literally cannot operate when it's just perpetually on overload. And then you
Yeah.
can't, to your point, actually tap into your purpose or your anything, because you're in this perpetually regulated fight or flight, like heightened cortisol state. So anything that comes from that is going to just come from a place of survival and not from a place of like deep desire. And the more that you're able to build up this capacity to listen through the quiet, you're also in, like, even to your point, you're like, I'm now at 25 minutes. I'm sure you've taken the steps in time. And I'm sure that he didn't just wake up one day and do an hour. That's part of his journey. But whatever that is, whether you start with a minute and you build, in that time, you're not only cleansing your mind and allowing yourself to clear out the gunk so you can tap into the juice, but also you're building up your capacity in your nervous system, because the reason why you can't sit at 25 minutes or an hour, whoever, is because you're still in that state. It's too uncomfortable for you to stay quiet. And so it's
Yep.
actually a beautiful indicator that your body is saying, if it can't sit for 2 minutes, like maybe just start with a minute and use this as an opportunity. The other thing that really came up for me was, about how that little quiet part of us that is whispering, like that, where we have that ping, where we like see someone doing something that like we're into, or we feel that sense of jealousy or envy, or that we're excited about something, that part of us, that desire, is actually our truth and our North Star. But
Yeah.
we just have been so used to like quieting it because of like, I can't do that or whatever. But what
Hmm.
if we leaned into trusting it for a second? And even to your point, like giving us even the space of not saying, oh, tomorrow I need to go completely and launch a whole like podcast or whatever, even though you could. But maybe it's just, what if I just allowed myself to future trip and journal on it, or do the vision board and allow it to just be there for a minute and lean into it? Because, and then over time, you might just decide, oh, I'm going to just do a Substack, or I'm just going to do an Instagram post. And it's over time, you start building that trust and getting that resonance. But it is really uncomfortable to fully go whole hog. And so I love that you broke it down in these steps, where these are the things that you did to really cultivate your tapping into your purpose. And then you actually built this whole thing. So let's talk about that.
Yes. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Hey, Mama, imagine if healing your stress patterns could change everything. Because it can. Whether it's reacting in ways you don't recognize, people pleasing, or overthinking, these patterns stem from unresolved trauma stored in your body. They create chronic stress impacting your health, relationships, and how you show up in life. That's why I created the Align and Thrive Workbook, a free 5-day mini training designed to help you heal at the root. You'll learn what trauma is and how it's showing up in your body and life. You'll be guided through a proven 5-step process to heal and rewire these patterns, shifting from reactive and overwhelmed to aligned and in flow. You'll get a comprehensive workbook filled with practices and journal prompts to help you implement this work starting now. It's truly transformational. It's what I wish I had when I was struggling on my journey, and it's completely free. Download your Align and Thrive workbook for free today. Head to www.mishavayner.com/workbook and let's begin this journey together. You can also click on the link in the show notes and grab it today.
This is so awesome. Loving it.
You're so awesome. Okay, now you have this whole brand and this show and this whole community, and it literally just I feel like I close my eyes, I turn on some platform and I'm like, oh, there she is doing this and sponsoring that and here. It blows my mind. And I'm just like peeling a potato.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, no, it's
You do
amazing.
so much. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
So can you just take us behind the scenes around like how, and you don't have to go through every step, but like essentially while you've been raising 3 little kids, and just like we were saying at the beginning, you don't have help. And then there's like the running the household and all the things, like, how did you build this empire while raising 3 children and doing it all? Like, what is like your secret?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I think I have to train myself to stay positive and keep going, because as an empath, I have this side that can get really melancholy. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have this on my plate and I do this many things for everybody. And you just feel so sorry for yourself. So sometimes it's just a quick shift of verbiage, and it's not, I have to do this. I have to take Shay to baseball. I have to go to Whole Foods after this. I get to do all these things. So that's just a quick, isn't this what you prayed for and dreamt about your whole childhood? You have this now. So don't let it be lost on you.
I love that.
Yes, yes. And it's just constant little reminders. Like when I want to first complain and commiserate, I'm like, nope, let's go back. And sometimes you just need the days to vent. So it's fine.
Yeah.
We're human. Yeah. You don't have to not have that, but don't let yourself get swept up and
spiral too much.
Yeah. There's that. And I'm really big on compartmentalizing my time, because just as it's important for me to fulfill my purpose and model that for my kids, I do feel like they thrive when they have my presence. And I don't want to shortchange that either. And everyone does it their own way, and you do what's right for you. But for me, it's like something that I've spoken to them about. So the bookends of my day are with them. And you have this too, so you get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the morning, Sunil and I both get them ready. We tag team. And thankfully, we have all these hacks because we had twins first, and we had them on such a strict schedule. And I never thought I would be this vigilant about it, but it worked out, because now they're 8 and 6. And like the time that they sleep, the time that they wake up, like everything's set. And the third is just along for the ride. And that way it's a good thing.
So true.
So they'll wake up when we need them to. I'm downstairs making a hot breakfast, and we give them like almonds. It's so tasty, but we give them almonds, bananas, like an oatmeal, sometimes it's cereal, but like eggs. And then Sunil is getting them ready upstairs. They come down, lunches are packed. Oftentimes I do that the night before, and then they're out the door. Then I drive them to school, come back. I look like a hot mess at drop off, but then my hair is all coiffed at pickup. So I come back and then I get ready. And then that's when I do my recordings, and all of this stuff is time blocked. If I'm talking to a brand, if I'm talking to a guest, if I'm working on pitch decks, that is all done between 9 to 2. And then I kind of wrap things up around 2:30, go pick them up. And then it's back to mom mode. And I'm running, like even just yesterday, I had my youngest had a baseball game, And so Hannah had a softball practice across the same field. And then Krish, my eldest, had baseball practice at another field. So I was like in the minivan going from each place from, I want to say 4:30 to 8.
Yeah.
We got home at 8 and Sunil's in the city. And there are times where I do lean on my village where it's, oh, could you pick so-and-so up and whatever. But yesterday I was like, it's fine. I'll just do it. I'll work in the car and I'm just going to just shuttle around. That time is not as productive work-wise, but I'm with them. They saw me cheering at the game and I was there to give them the hug when they needed to get picked up. And then they had a second dinner and then they went to sleep. And yeah, it's just every day is different. Just last week, I'm doing a campaign with Lexus. Just last week, I felt like a celebrity because Lexus showed up at my door and we did a whole photo shoot and
So cool.
campaign. Yeah, it's for AAPI.
Oh,
So
awesome.
we're broadcast actually, yeah, doing AAPI voices and interviews around that, sponsored by Lexus. So that was super cool. But then there's some days where I'm making a Costco run and it's really not that sexy. So it's fine. And I like that. I like that I have a little bit of each, and Google Calendar helps. ChatGPT is also my bestie. It's such a time saver. I like Meta AI as well. Anytime I need to post anything, anytime I'm scripting for something, I let those AI platforms take the first stab at it. And then I do it. So you got to just work smarter. And that way you can show up in all the facets you want to, because don't feel like you can't do it. I want to be the positive cheerleader friend that's, you've got this, you can do it. There's hacks around it, but you can show up in these places and not feel burnt out by it.
Yeah, no, you have been that for me. Anytime I see you, you're like, you got this, you whatever. And you also are just, I don't think I've ever seen you burnt out or not look polished. You amaze me.
8 a.m. 8 a.m. on a Tuesday.
At drop
I'm
off.
in my full-on pajamas. It's hot out, but I have to put the parka over it so nobody sees that there's pajamas under there, because I'm just like, yeah, I'm coming home and taking my shower and getting ready. I'm not doing that at 6 a.m.
No, rushing. No. So, okay, let's talk about, speaking of appearance and like presence, like something that I really always am just fascinated about with you is, aside from the fact that you always look amazing, is just how, and given that I know the behind the scenes, meaning that I know that you have 3 kids and whatever, but also the way, the way that you communicate you're always so articulate and clear and grounded. And I have a lot of voice wounds, and it's always been a journey for me to just speak with gravitas without feeling stress, especially in the cases where you've interviewed such powerhouse individuals. You take so many stages, you've been on TV. And so I'm just really curious as to how do you do that? Like, how do you communicate so powerfully and beautifully with also such a connection to your intuition? Like, you never sound scripted. What's your secret?
Oh my God, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. And I think going back in time, I really should have been a comm major, and I majored in business because I wanted to make my parents happy. And I guess the minor in management is like a good thing, but whatever it is, I feel like I love writing and public speaking. And I'll take it back to when I was a sophomore in high school, or actually even further, 6th and 7th grade. I remember we got to choose electives, and instead of there was band and there were some other classes that were more like arts and all of that. I took a reading writing workshop with Mrs. Honky, and I was just like, this is so cool. And even my mom was like, you're going to get more homework in this elective, because there's like reading, she's going to have a whole list of books to read. And then writing, you're clearly going to be writing like narratives and essays and stuff. And I was like, no, I want to do this for my elective. I love communicating and I want to. And she's like, all right. So for 6th and 7th grade, we did that. And she taught it both years. And that's where I think I honed in on my communication skills and writing. And I feel like when you have a good teacher to foster it, decades later, you're like, yeah, see, I knew I needed to be in this field. And there was one book that she had us read. It was called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Yes, it's an amazing, like very chicken soup for the soul kind of book, where it's small little like essays or vignettes that the author wrote. And it was just so well put together, but it basically taught us how to take something in the here and now and go into the abstract and then come back. And so I
Wow.
learned that skill early on. And as an example, I remember I wrote this essay about war. And at that time, it was like Persian Gulf War and Iraq and all of that was happening, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Like there was so many wars in that time frame. And I took it to my sister and I having a pillow fight, which is not related. And I said, wouldn't it be so interesting if all world leaders could sort out their problems with a big pillow fight?
I love that. So good.
And then I brought it back to this is what the state of affairs is right now. But it just made me challenged by just use your thoughts and go there. And then with communicating, I have a few anecdotes here. So sophomore year of high school, I had Mrs. Bergaw. Again, I have a photographic memory, so it's really weird that I could just go there. I don't think I've said her name in now 30 years.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, she was my English teacher and she taught us public speaking and how you have to really engage the audience, use vocabulary that they can understand. Of course, you can sprinkle in some SAT words in there, but be relatable, make eye contact, and like really draw everyone in with your words, pace, like all sorts of things. So I learned that at that very ripe age. And then in graduate school, when I decided, okay, so I want to be a television anchor, not going to do law or business. And I went to University of Miami for my master's program. My professor, who was like just the head of the comm program there, his name is Professor Sam Roberts. He was the executive producer to Walter Cronkite for years. Yes. Yeah. For 30 years at CBS. Now, when you think about that, because being in news, having gone on to CNN, to first of all, to be a lifer like that and have worked with an icon and household name for 30 years, that means that him and Walter got along great.
Yeah.
And there's some personalities in the newsroom if you've seen the morning show.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then the second thing is the network recognized his worth, but he's the one behind the scenes, almost like a puppeteer, writing everything about the news stories that Walter gets on the teleprompter. And he is creating the rundown and what is the top story, what's going to go at the bottom at the end. And to learn from someone as legendary as that, he was a no nonsense guy. Like he was dropping the F-bomb during our newscasts the entire time. He'd be in the control room and you could see him being like,
Yeah.
So he was a tough cookie to have as a professor, but I learned so much. And it was like, it just kept making you, even if you were great, and even if we're going to get straight A's, it was like, go farther, reach higher, get better. So he helped me do that.
Develop that.
Yeah. And I think you need to have someone push you because then you're like cool with the status quo. And it's like, you don't want the perfectionism to die. Keep pushing yourself there. So yeah, all of that whole trajectory, I feel like got me to be the communicator that I am. And I love one-on-ones, like how we're having a podcast, but I also love being on a stage and drawing in an audience live too.
If you ever found yourself wondering, but how do you really navigate that? You're not alone. The most common questions I get from this community aren't just about the tools or the steps, they're about the real behind the scenes journey. So I created The Deep Well, a private space where I share raw personal stories, unfiltered insights, and the deeper lessons I don't always share publicly. It's also where you can send me your personal questions about motherhood, healing, burnout, purpose, relationships, and I'll answer them inside the feed with thoughtful, trauma-conscious guidance, practical suggestions, and any resources I believe could support you. If you're craving more depth, real talk, and real connection, check the show notes. I'd love to see you inside.
Yeah, there's a different energy, right?
Mhm.
Totally agree. I think, yeah, there's like a beautiful intimacy and depth that you get in a like one-on-one. And then there's also this energy and this like excitement when you're with more people, and just brings out a different kind of like essence in someone, I think. But
Yeah.
I think that's so cool, because I do feel that the power of mentorship is so at times underestimated. And I think that like having strong mentors who can help you on your path of whatever it is really important. We're not meant to do it alone. And I think that's another thing. I think people often see like what is happening on social media and whatever, and like thinking that like behind each woman or behind each face has like a powerhouse of support system in one way or the other. While we may not have a nanny or whatever, like having mentors or friends or people you can rely on to help push you, encourage you, like all of
Yeah.
that. So I think that's really helpful. Is if there was like one for someone who wanted to become more confident in their presence and their communication, to speak with the same power, what advice would you give?
Yes, I would say practice and preparation can get
Mhm.
you to perfection. So you should be rehearsing, get in front of a mirror and notice the little nuances and maybe like slip ups and ums and ahs and whatever that you have, and practice your way through. Because if it's the first impression that you're making on someone you're meeting for the first time that you're hoping to work with, or in front of a crowd, or even while networking, I feel like you want to bring your best self forward, and that comes with preparing for it. My
Yes.
my daughter actually told me once, she was 4. So it's like at that age, they still are like the mousy voices, and they're so
Mm.
like, and I think we were out and it was a really long day, and like I feel like we had filled up the day with just different like boring activities. It must have been like a doctor's appointment and something else, like that it's one kid has to wait for the other two. It was just a boring kind of run of the mill day. And I had color wows, which are like the markers with the you
Mhm.
color, yes. And then I had crayons and apple slices or something like that. And she looked at me and she was like, Mama, you're always prepared. That is such a big word to be saying at this age. And thank you. Thank
Totally.
you. I am prepared because I knew I was like, they're going to get bored. And then what? So I was like, here, play with this or eat this.
I so appreciate that, because honestly, I could even use that reminder. I think in life, like we can know all the things and we can even be doing it all well during certain seasons. And then there's certain seasons where things are slipping, you're holding too much, you're dropping balls, and you're just not feeling like you've got it all together. And I'm in a season like that, just to be completely
Oh,
frank. It's all
okay.
good. It's part of the journey, right? And
Yes.
I will say, I feel a reboot from this conversation, because it's true. Like, it's like sometimes you feel like there's all these things you need to be doing, but not really. At the end of the day, if you just break it down to like, how can I be more prepared for the next thing? Can I just like, instead of thinking about it like right before, maybe I just a day ahead, organize myself. And then when you
Yes.
do that, you actually save so much like energy and time and stress, because you
Yep.
spent that 10-15 minutes like strategizing the next day, what you need to prepare, and all of that stress of the crying kid and running around and stopping wherever. Like, yes, I love that. So thank you for that reminder.
Oh, of course. And it makes you feel so good when you're like, that was a win. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. It feels
Mhm.
so good. It's so funny how there's nothing like that feeling of feeling like a mom win when
Mm.
you're like, oh, there's just nothing. Because it's 9 times out of 10, you spent all this time making this amazing meal and they're like, I don't like it. And you're like,
Right.
yeah, or whatever. So when you're like, score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's so much talk about balance, but I'd love to hear, given all that you have, and how do you feel that you achieve balance and find flow in even not even necessarily just the day to day, but like in your life, are there certain things that you really feel contribute to you being able to just thrive in all that you navigate?
Yes, I think it's important for me to get my thoughts down. So when I am really in a flow, it's because I've spent time writing. And I know we've talked about journaling. It's so important. So morning pages, whatever you have to do to get your thoughts out, there's a flow in that.
Yes.
So there's that. And then movement, that helps
Prioritizing
too.
that.
Yes, yes. And if you're going to do a call, I take my Bluetooth with me everywhere. That's something that I don't shut off, and I call friends to just catch up. I love
You're
doing
so
that.
good about that.
Yes, yeah. The random phone call, and it's like if you get someone who picks up,
Amazing.
great. Yeah, you're just like, yay, I have 15 minutes of like, how are you? And then you also can do work calls too. So just to get out and about, I know you do this near your house, and I love when you're out walking. It's its own like rejuvenation.
Grounding.
Yeah, you're outside, you're breathing the fresh air, you're looking at nature. Yeah, so I think those are the two things that help me is just journaling and movement.
I love that because I think that honestly, sometimes it's the most simple things. It doesn't need to always be revolutionary, but if you just actually integrate those simple things and you do them consistently, it can really just help with everything. And in fact, something that came to me when we were talking about the young Pueblo and the
Mm-hmm.
Vipassana and all of that, and it just connects to this too. And that is that, have you ever heard that metaphor about like when there's like a container and like you are putting if you try to put like all the rocks in, like the big and the little ones, versus if you focus on putting the big rocks in first, and then after the little ones will fit in if you just, and it reminds me of that both with the prioritizing of the meditation, the walking, the preparation, the journaling. If you focus on getting your big anchors on like the big rocks in, like the rest will all happen. Like we make things
Yes.
happen as moms. If it has to get done, it'll get it done. But at least you'll
Right.
feel better about it. You'll feel more grounded and focused and all of that. And also by doing those things, a lot of the nonsense drips away because you're like spiraling about this, that, and the other. And you're like, it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean?
Yes, I hit my non-negotiables and my priorities. And so then if such and such happens or doesn't happen, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's see. Anything else that you'd love to share with moms, that the women listening are moms that are really desiring to feel in flow in their day to day, in their purpose? And so I guess maybe one thing that we could talk about is like, what's one thing that's helping you glow right now? Is it a book or a show or a skincare product or a mantra or something something like it that you're loving right now?
Ooh, I love this. Okay, two books just dropped by friends of mine, and it just feels like you're just like able to seep into their soul and their all the things that how their thoughts really.
Mm,
So one is Zarna Garg's
yeah.
This American Woman, which I went to her book launch and it was phenomenal. She had her daughter Zoya moderating,
Mm,
and her brand is family. And so when you see that actually play out, you're like, this is amazing. We need to get back to all things wholesome, and family is it. And this is especially a chapter that I'm in, that I'm like trying to cultivate this togetherness, because I don't want smug teenagers that are like eye rolling and flicking me off. So it's like, let
yeah.
me just get this going now. So this is how we are. So her book and memoir just shares why she really built the family that she always wanted from her childhood onwards. So definitely check out
So
This American
incredible.
Woman. Yes. Another book that I like love, and an event that we're doing, which I'm really excited about, is Sonia Dave's The Guilt Pill.
Ooh,
And
yes.
yes, we are doing an event at Bedford Books, which is owned by another friend of mine, Fran Hauser. And so
I love
if you're in Westchester or the upstate New York area, please come
When
to
is the
our
event? I'm gonna
event.
come.
Yes, please, please. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. It is on Thursday, May 8th. Thursday,
Okay.
May 8th.
Oh,
Yes.
yay. I'm so there.
Yes, yes, at 6 p.m. at Bedford Books. And the inner glow for me is having contact with my people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if there are days, especially in winter,
Mm-hmm.
when I don't have that, I'm not going to as many things and I'm not having just this one-on-one contact with people I love and feel so inspired by. That's when I just go into my hole and feel depressed and stuff.
Yeah, it's like you
So
need to
yeah.
cultivate that continuous fire inside through, it's like a little flame that kind of goes away and you need to cultivate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so sparking that and being able to share in that in community, like that gets me so happy. And like I just have
Mm.
this pep in my step, like for days after. So yeah, that's the other thing. And I'm excited to hear Soumya share about this because it is about a character's motherhood journey and
Mm.
mom guilt and whether we should feel it or not. And it's like loosely like the Matrix, where
Mm.
if you could get rid of guilt, would you or would you not? Like blue or red, would you do it? Would you not do it?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I actually have been to several events at Fran's bookstore and I just love her and what she's created there as well. So,
Yes.
so excited to see you and
I
her
know.
and also hear about this book. Okay. Anything else you think you want to share about where people could find you? Anything else you want to invite people to? Or, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Misha. Thank you. I would say definitely subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense wherever you listen. We're on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So whichever player resonates with you. I am dropping a few different series, so look out for those. One is with Meta. It's called Parenting in the Digital Age.
Ooh,
Yeah, and we just had Elisa Donovan on. She played Amber from Clueless. I
ooh,
know. So
exciting.
it's very nostalgic. I don't know how many times we said as if and whatever in the interview, but it was a lot.
I'm
It was
obsessed.
so freaking fun. So
So fun.
she's our latest on the series. I have a series dropping with Lexus for Asian American Pacific Islander Month.
So
And so
good.
I have three guests who are in fashion and food and fitness who you'll see, which is
Amazing.
really awesome. Yeah, and then I have a home design series. So that
Ooh,
one's actually very tangible. So I did a few partnerships with California Closets, Naturepedic, and Cozy Earth. And that one is more, okay, so if you're at home and you're doing your spring cleaning and you want to know, okay, I'm going to definitely work on that built-in that I put off, or what I need to update my bedding, or I need organic mattresses for the kids and even ourselves. Like it just goes into all of that, which I think is just really interesting. So I'm so excited for all those things. And if you subscribe, you'll hear it all. And then you can follow me on Insta. That's where I'm most active. And my handle is at Kanika Chadda Gupta. And I'll give my email too. This is my team email. So me and the rest of my colleagues and manager check this one. It's that's totalmomsense@gmail.com. So if you want to be in touch, like I'm always here.
I love that. And I'll also include all of that in the show notes. But thank you so much for your time. I loved chatting with you and catching up also as a special bonus.
Yes.
And I'm going to see you May 8th then. And I
Yay.
love you. Love you.
I
Thank
love
you.
you, Mish. I love you. Thank you so much for what you're doing for your community, because so much of wellness is about cultivating it together. We shouldn't be living in silos, and you're doing exactly that with your show.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Mwah. All right, friends, what'd you think? I really hope you enjoyed listening and got value from this episode of Your Well Life. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so we can spread the word to more mamas who can benefit from this content. It's truly my deepest mission to help as many mamas out there feel empowered, aligned, and in flow in their bodies and lives through this podcast. And even just sharing with one friend who you think can benefit helps. Want more from me? Well, then don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you can get notified each time a new episode drops. Oh, and make sure to get on my newsletter list where I send out weekly emails to support, nourish, and inspire you. And follow me on Instagram, where I'm the most active and share behind the scenes of my day-to-day life and insights I have along the way. I'm at Misha Vayner.
I'm truly so grateful that you chose to spend your time with me and really hope to have you join along next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.